There's a type of weed out there so strong that even Snoop Dogg won't smoke it by himself. They call it moon rocks. It's a nug of weed dunked in hash oil and buried under a coat of kief until the whole thing looks like a frosted little moon rock. But what's most interesting about moon rocks isn't the high or what they're made of. It's that nobody can agree on who actually invented them, yet somehow they still managed to take over the entire cannabis industry. So let's start with what one of these things even is, because the build is pretty simple once you break it down. At its core, a moon rock is basically a 3-layer stack. You begin with a dense, well-formed nug, and historically the strain of choice was Girl Scout cookies, the legendary OG Kush and Durban Poison Cross that became California's most celebrated strain. That bud gets dipped in cannabis concentrate, usually a hash oil like BHO or CO2 oil. Then, the whole sticky thing gets rolled in kief, which is the fine trichome dust that carries the highest concentration of cannabinoids and terpenes anywhere on the plant. Flower is on the inside, concentrate is in the middle, kief is on the outside, all packed into one lumpy frosted nug that looks more like a piece of lunar rock than weed. That look is exactly where the name came from, part chunk of the moon, part warning that this thing is about to send you straight to it. Now let's talk about potency, because this is where it gets genuinely ridiculous. Your standard dispensary flower averages somewhere around 20% THC, and even top-shelf stuff usually tops out around 25 to 28%. Moon rocks live in a different universe. The consensus across Leafly, Weedmaps, and Healthline puts them around 50% THC, with the premium versions climbing past 60%. Leafly straight up called the product a THC megazord, and the math actually backs that up, because you are stacking the flower's THC, the concentrate's 60 to 90% payload, and the most resin-rich part of the entire plant, all into a single bite. So, because it has all of that, moon rocks hit you in 2 ways at once. Your body goes heavy and relaxed, but your mind stays up and feels good. Dr. Zodiak, one of the men behind the brand, once compared smoking a moon rock to taking a shot of 151 instead of sipping a regular beer. They hit hard and they hit slow, with the full effect sometimes taking half an hour to peak and then riding for hours after that. But here's where the story gets messy. The version stamped on dispensary menus from California to Massachusetts says moon rocks were invented by West Coast rap legend Kurupt of Thaw Dog Pound and Death Row Records, alongside a partner who went by Dr. Zodiak. The truth is a lot blurrier than that. Several sources, including Leafly itself, trace the kief-coated version back to a Southern California dispensary called Starbuds 760, working out of the San Diego area somewhere around 2012 or 2013. Other West Coast outfits have made their own claims too. And Kurupt himself settled it pretty plainly in a 2014 interview, admitting that moon rock wasn't something he actually invented, and that he and Dr. Zodiak had perfected a process that already existed. So the cleanest version of the truth goes like this. Oil-dipped buds were already floating around the gray market LA dispensary scene. Somebody added the kief crust, and then Kurupt and Dr. Zodiak took that idea and built an entire empire on top of it. By 2014, they had launched Kurupt's Moon Rock, which is made out of Girl Scout cookies flour that's dipped in hash oil and rolled in Dr. Zodiak's own kief blend. The marketing was years ahead of its time. They did not just sell weed, they dropped 2 mixtapes called the Moon Rocks Project, featuring names like Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, and a deep roster of West Coast and Southern rappers. The tagline they used was simple and unforgettable: the strongest bud in your galaxy. The product won cannabis cups, got name-dropped in songs, and earned a legendary endorsement when Snoop Dogg said the things were so strong, he would not even smoke one by himself. Moon rocks didn't just go global because of slick packaging. They went global because they were born inside the West Coast hip-hop culture. The Death Row cosign carried the product, the mixtapes had everyone wanting to try it, and the look of the thing did the rest. Frosted, crystal-covered nugs caught the light next to gold foil and galaxy imagery. All of it tailor-made for Instagram years before weed influencers were even a thing. By 2018, the Moonrock hashtag had been used close to 500,000 times, with people filming themselves pulling the nugs apart and watching the kief flake off like edible snow. In a lot of ways, Moonrocks became the cannabis version of an unboxing video, premium and photogenic and aspirational all at once. Wherever there's that kind of money, drama tends to follow. By 2017, the brand was massive, and the cracks started to show. Kurupt's ex-wife, Jovan Brown, who was known in rap circles as Gail Gotti, filed for divorce and demanded half of the Moonrock business, saying she had run the operational side of the company. The filings went back and forth in the press, with reported claims about ownership and spousal support on one side, and a counterclaim that the two had actually been separated for years on the other. Around that same stretch, Kurupt quietly filed a separate trademark for the real Kurupt's Moonrock, apparently trying to launch a version independent of Dr. Zodiak, but that trademark ended up abandoned by the end of 2017. The fight never produced one clean public verdict, but the results showed up on the shelves anyway, with the original brand continuing on, and Kurupt later launching a follow-up product of his own. Here is why none of this is just a fun side story. Moonrocks didn't only create a product, they created a whole category. Before 2014, flower and concentrates basically lived in two separate worlds, with different customers and different rituals. And Moonrocks collapsed them into a single thing. That merger is now one of the dominant forces in legal weed. The numbers tell it best, because by 2025, infused pre-rolls made up roughly 47% of the entire US pre-roll market, a category worth well over $1 billion. Products like Steezy's infused flower joints are essentially Moonrocks reformatted into a pre-roll, which means the best-selling style of joint in America right now is a direct descendant of what Kurupt and Dr. Zodiak were wrapping in gold foil a decade ago. Moonrocks also rewrote the marketing playbook, leaning on celebrity branding, THC percentage as the headline number, luxury pricing, and music tie-ins, and you can see that influence in nearly every celebrity weed brand that followed. So that's the Moonrock story. It's a product nobody fully invented, that one rapper made famous, that one partnership turned into a brand, that one lawsuit nearly tore apart, and that quietly rewired the entire cannabis industry on its way out the door. Today, almost every dispensary sells some version of it, and most customers have no idea where it actually came from. Now you do. That's Moonrocks, the strange little creation that changed the game for good.